Fun with Failure.
Hi, this is Dallas with Fun with Failure, and I am thoroughly prepared today. This is TIFU episode something. I'll figure it out. I'll probably put it in the notes or something. I can't remember the number of the episode. Wow. Episode 36. Yes, it's episode 36. Thank you for joining me. We have 6 stories that I'd like to share with you today, and I hope you enjoy them. So without further ado, let's get started. Here we go. No, wait a minute. Episode 37. Yes, I got it. Hey, look, it's on my little recording thing right there. Cool. So this actually happened today. I was sitting in class. I still go to school. When I felt a sneeze coming. Being the polite person that I am, I tried to cover it up with my hands. But my hands were kind of far away from my face, so I guess my instinct was to just do it really fast. That resulted in me violently smacking my hands into my face. Apparently, it was violent enough for me to get a strong nosebleed, and I swear, as soon as I noticed the blood, I just started manically laughing at how ridiculous this situation was. As soon as my classmates noticed, they were probably kind of freaked out, seeing me laughing with a lot of blood dripping down my face. So, as I tried to go to the sink, I explained the situation, which resulted in them laughing too. I continued to giggle at the sink. Needless to say, I had a great day walking around with my jumper covered in blood. So, this happened about 9 years ago, when I was 10 years old. It was Sunday morning, and I always had some breakfast, which was rice pops with powdered chocolate sprinkled on top. Mixed with milk, it basically formed a budget version of Cocoa Pops. I moved into the lounge and sat down on the beanbag. As I sat down, I spilt a small amount of cereal on the beanbag. I reached down to scoop it up, and noticed a wet brown substance on my finger. I leaped to the conclusion that some of the milk had spilled as well. So I licked my fingers. Soon after, I immediately realized that I had licked a small helping of cat poop off my fingers. My cat had clearly taken a crap on my beanbag during the night, and I didn't notice it until it was too late. Then I made the mistake of telling my friends about it. The story, it still gets brought up today. So around this time every year, I have a stink bug problem in my apartment. It's not too bad. I usually find 20 throughout the month of September, and maybe some in October. I keep far larger and way more venomous bugs as pets. This year, however, the stink bug issue is weirdly intense. I'm finding them everywhere. I'll scan the room, find 1 or 2 stink bugs, and I'll catch them. Come back 20 minutes later, and I find more. I've tried to be a nice person. I scoop them up and drop them outside. But having this many in my house is frustrating, so I gave up this cute crap. Since you can't squish stink bugs, I got a water bottle and filled it up with a few inches of soapy water. When I see a stink bug, I simply drop it in, close the lid, and they'll drown within seconds. When I've collected around 10 or so, I just emptied the bottle outside, leaving the drowned corpses to frighten off other stink bugs. Now today, after a longer than normal day at work, I sparked up a jazz cigarette and I plopped down on the couch to read a book. 20 or so minutes later, I found myself stoned and thirsty, but still very much wrapped up in the book. So without taking my eyes off of it, I reached over to the side table and grabbed a bottle of water. I unscrewed the cap with my right hand, while my left hand held the book I was still reading. I put my thumb on the page to hold my spot, tipped my head back to pour the water straight on the back of my throat. This was a trick I used to down crappy beer in college. I had already swallowed by the time I realized what I had done. Most of the water and several of the stink bugs were gone. The smell was not pleasant. I ran to the bathroom to vomit, but it didn't come, and the dry heaving really hurt my stomach. Those were yesterday's stink bugs. I didn't empty the bottle this morning. There were 7 or 8 in there, and now there's only 5. I feel disgusting. Summer of my senior year, I was accepted for a statewide STEM camp. I was specifically assigned to the college on the other side of the state. Full college experience for the most part. I was assigned to the chemistry program, taught by a high school chemistry teacher. His wife was a college professor. I forgot the subject, it wasn't chemistry, and a few graduate students from the college. The program wasn't really educational so much as hands-on. We all got to do a project illustrating some chemistry project. My partner and I ended up choosing to make thermite. As part of it, we further decided to test various ways to ignite thermite. There are various technical ways, you can Google them. One of the ways we chose was using potassium permanganate, which is a fun purple metallic stuff that can be ground into a powder and mixed with glycerol. These two are often used as a fire starter. So my instructor, he's not up for folks doing proper full-on chemistry safety. Think fume hoods and protective clothing in a college setting, only on a high school setting. So he thought nothing of it, and he actually suggested that we test our ignition mixes on the lab bench, which is fireproof, but it will not contain smoke at all. You can probably see where this is going, but we needed to pause to set up the background for the rest of the TIFU. One of the other projects was a hydroponic setup. If I remember right, think a decent sized aquarium, with a pump setup flowing lots of water around through a lot of tubes. This setup was on the floor. The water intake was connected to a lab faucet. This is a very important detail. Another project was some students working with pure sodium, lithium, and potassium. If you know anything about these three in pure form, they tend to go boom really easily on their own. They were in a fume hood. Working with them is done in high school level in many chemistry classes as a fun experiment, and the instructor was well aware of their dangers. So with this background, back to the main story. So my partner and I are having issues getting our mixture to ignite. After some trial and error, we finally get the batch to ignite. After some hollering and happiness, and most of the group is clapping as they know we've been struggling at it for the past few days. Plus, it's fire. Who doesn't like cool purple flames? It wasn't that big, but big enough to watch and go, ooh. After the fire dies, we all get quiet and we start noticing a massive amount of smoke being put off, and it's hovering over the ceiling. The instructor says something about a fan, and then the building's fire alarm goes off. We quickly pack up our experiments and evacuate the building. Even though we know it's set off, we still have to follow procedure and evacuate. The whole group mostly does the same packing up and leaving. The fire department shows up, interviews the instructor, interviews us, warns us to be more careful, and leaves. We are the heroes to everyone. Mind you, there are several groups in the program in the building. How awesome to legitimately set off the fire alarm. Then the real fun starts. We get back into the building, exit the elevator, then step in water. Remember that aquarium hydroponic setup? Somehow one of the tubes came undone, and since it was connected directly to the running faucet, all the water got dumped onto the floor, which started flowing around the floor out of the room. We'd been out of the building for almost an hour at this point, and the faucet was your standard faucet that can flow several gallons a minute. Someone comes upstairs from the floor below us and remarks it's raining, wondering if we set off fire sprinklers during the alarm. Then they see the floor. The instructor tells one of the grad students to run to the janitor and to the building administrator. We are still in the hall at this point. The instructor then proceeds to go into the actual lab and see how bad it is. He sees that the fumes are mildly smoking, but contained. The ceiling from my fire was cleared at this point, so he starts investigating further. He runs out and yells, "Everybody out of the building now!" And he runs back in. Do you remember that lithium, sodium, and potassium experiment? They happened to fail to pack the metal blocks back under oil, how they normally store them in pure form. These are actually water reactive. Somehow the leaking aquarium setup had sprayed some very, and I mean very small drops, almost a mist on some of the blocks, and they were now smoking. Now hopefully you are well aware of the explosive properties. If not, go Google them. But we were all very lucky with all the water in the room that they didn't just completely let go. These weren't large lumps, about the size of your hand, but a still decent size. Not the normal fingernail sized pieces that you might play with in high school, but still enough, it could have destroyed the building. The instructor got yelled at a lot for the flood, and the explosive metals got put away. We had a fun time demonstrating our thermite reaction and igniters outside safely, and all in all, the summer was fun, despite the fact of almost destroying the building. Here's the following disclaimer. This story contains blood and pee. I have what's assumed to be endometriosis, from what I understand, from internet reading and from the doctor explaining it. My uterus tissue lining is growing outside my uterus, and there really isn't much they can do about it right now. It really sucks. To make this story kinda short, I've been dealing with this crap since I was 9. I've had every single doctor pass it off as nothing. I feel bad for anyone else who has to go through this. Having a medical condition and being left in the dark about it is the worst, especially if you aren't even being taken serious to begin with. Anywho, the doctor wanted to check to see if I had any uterine fibroids, seeing how many of my symptoms matched. In order to do this, they have to give you a laparoscopy, sticking a camera into your belly button to look at your uterus, or an ultrasound. Naturally, I opted for the ultrasound. Until today, I have never had an ultrasound, and I had no idea how it worked. The receptionist told me to drink a lot of water, and that was it. Seemed easy enough. The next day, I woke up around 10 a.m. The appointment was at 11:15 a.m., and I did just that. I drank so much freaking water, I lost count. I felt like a walking water balloon. Other than that, I felt fine. My granny drove me there, and she was taking forever to get out of the bathroom. When she finally came out, she suggested that I drink one more glass, just for good measure. Despite feeling like I was about to explode, I obliged. For whatever reason, I decided to jog to the car. Then the cramps hit hard. I actually doubled over in pain. It was a mixture between female cramps and running cramps. You know, the kind that you get from guzzling water in gym class? It took me a minute to compose myself. This was my first omen of bad things to come. The car ride was absolutely hellish. With each and every turn, I was electrified with cramps. I started to think about stories of people dying from drinking too much water. Then I started to get paranoid. I was super lightheaded. I kept telling myself, "You're okay, you're not gonna pass out, the cramps aren't that bad," over and over in hopes that it would help. You know, delusions, trying to convince myself. Finally, after what felt like hours, we pulled up to the doctor's office. My granny drops me off and she goes to run some errands. I stepped in and the place was packed. The receptionist took my health card and she said it would be a 20-minute wait. Oh crap. I sat down next to a pregnant lady, her husband, and her 2 kids. The second I sat down, I had to pee. It hadn't been that long since I've been there. This was going to be a long wait. In the attempt to distract myself, I started talking to the pregnant lady. "Are you here for the ultrasound?" I asked stupidly. She nodded. "Me too, it's my first." I guess she could tell that I was nervous because she said, "Oh, it isn't that bad. Tickles a little, and the gel is cold, but it only takes a few minutes. How many weeks are you?" I laughed and I said I'm not pregnant. She immediately apologized. I then explained my health problems and she apologized again. Canadians, right? When she stopped talking, she stood up and went to the water cooler. I hadn't noticed it before. I felt dumb. Why did I go through all that trouble of drinking all that water at home when there's a water cooler here? Worse than that, the pee cramps came back, as did the lightheadedness. Double crap. They called the pregnant lady back, and I was literally dancing in my chair. I tried to distract myself again by browsing Reddit, but the letters looked like they were moving. This, tied in with the blood loss, I knew at this point that I was probably going to pass out. After a lengthy debate with myself, I decided to get up to go to the bathroom. I mean, my bladder was mad at me for drinking all of that water. Letting a little out wouldn't hurt. Plus, I also had to deal with my feminine issues. The receptionist stopped me and said that I would be the next in, so I just sat back down. Bad idea. The pain was getting worse and worse every moment I waited. Only a couple of minutes had passed by, but it felt like centuries. I swear to God, I could feel my pulse in my bladder. In hindsight, that probably was not a good sign. Finally, my name was called. I jumped up from my chair like a person who had to pee. I'm really bad at similes. The receptionist, she must have been an Olympic runner or something, or just didn't realize how much water was in me. She dusted me, and then she turned around to make sure I was still behind her. It physically hurt to walk. I had a stinging sensation and my vision was starting to get a bit blurry. Crap. By some incredible feat, I made it to the room. It was dark and it had a table with a big machine and charts all over the wall. She was about to close the door, but I had to stop. Do you mind if I go to the bathroom real quick?" "No, sweetie. You need a full bladder for the ultrasound. The doctor won't be long." "But I drank too much water. I'm going to pass out," I protested, but she was already out the door. Well, crap. Too late to go back now. It was a challenge to get on the table without accidentally peeing myself or falling off, but miraculously, I did it. The doctor, of course, was taking a long time to get to me. Not that I blame him. He had a lot of people to see. But it was bad. I started to see stars on the ceiling. The cramps were excruciating, sending waves over my whole body. I thought for a brief moment that I was going to die there. The doctor came in to see me sweating and shaking all over the table like I was possessed. "Is this going to take long? I really have to go to the bathroom." He smiled and said, "It'll only take a few minutes. You'll be fine." Oh, how wrong he was. He tried to calm me down by making small talk while he put the gel on me, but I have no memory of what he said. He messed around with the computer for ages. I don't know if he was taking so long because I was complaining or because I was just really impatient. He finally took the ultrasound utensil and pushed it on my ovaries with the force of Hercules. This was way too much for my poor bladder to handle. I think you can guess what happened. He knew. I knew he knew. He knew that I knew. Then I passed out. I woke up a few minutes later to him and someone else looming over me, and it scared the pee out of me. Again, "Are you okay?" You passed out for a minute there," the other guy stated. Blatantly obvious. I explained that I pass out sometimes due to the period, and it was painfully embarrassing. "Well, I wish you would have told me that before we got started." Oops. It was at this point I realized what happened. Good thing the room was so dark. Otherwise, they would have seen me crying. Or maybe that was sweat. Who knows. To save me from further embarrassment, they didn't mention the accident, but it was really obvious. I asked if I can go to the bathroom for the 4th time. They made me lay down for a bit longer. This made me mad, but I guess it was a safety measure to make sure I didn't fall. The doctor finished doing the ultrasound. Somehow I didn't completely pee myself, and when they were absolutely sure that I was okay, they let me leave. I vaguely remember going to the front desk, and then waddling back to the bathroom to inspect the damage. I bled and peed through the sweatpants. It was unholy. Luckily, my shorts were long enough to hide a bit. Sincerest apologies to the cleaning staff. Okay guys, so to start with, nearly 2 months ago my boyfriend and I found a huge spider in the backyard, and it was setting up shop right by our patio door. This thing was huge. It was black and gold and possibly from Australia. I don't know a lot about spiders, but I do know that colorful ones almost always are poisonous. So we decided to Google this spider. I mean, how many black and gold spiders could there be? We find this Facebook profile. It turns out to be a garden spider. Not aggressive and not poisonous, but it will bite if pestered. And I'm not even mad because that's what I would do if I was pestered. Anyways, I'm deathly afraid of spiders. I don't even discriminate. Small spiders, tall spiders, fuzzy spiders, skinny spiders. I hate them all. But I'm big into saving animals and petting all the puppies, and I kinda feel like a hypocrite by wanting him dead. So my boyfriend asked if he should kill it, and I just dismissively wave my hand and speak, "Let it live," as if I'm a kind and merciful spider god. So I'm feeling really good about myself now, and for the next few days, I'm on cloud 9. I have to stop using the back door though, because they still scare the heck out of me. And the dogs seem really confused, and I can tell that they're wondering why we suddenly start using the front door. But I try to play it cool because I don't want them to know that I'm scared. The spider kinda grows on us, so eventually we decide to name it. My boyfriend and I argue over names. He's thinking Larry, but I'm not feeling it. And I remember seeing some guy on Reddit use the name Jimmothy, and I fall in love with it. So I've decided that I've won the fight, and from now on we're gonna call him Jimmothy, or else. Days pass by, and sometimes we think Jimmothy is dead because he's really stoic. But then we jiggle the door handle, and that really makes him mad. And oh crap, he's not dead. I come home one day and he has a little snack. Something's off though. He's not eating it. He's just hovering over it. I realize this isn't about hunger. This is about pleasure, and Jimmothy is enjoying listening to the muffled, suffocating screams of whatever he caught. And for the first time since we found Jimmothy, I start wondering if I messed up letting him live. I decide to let it go. He's never tried to get into the house, and we seem to be on good terms. And like I said, he's huge, so I'm guessing he has mad street cred with the other spiders. And I don't want to start a war. A few weeks pass, and this is when I see the full extent of my mistake. Jimmothy turns out to be a Jimma-she. She moved up high out of our reach, and she's built a little nest now that she's gotten herself knocked up. I've killed a pregnant spider before, like back in 2001 or something. And I remember what happens when you kill a pregnant spider. How could I forget? Millions of tiny spiders fleeing from the dead body of their mother and go everywhere. And sometimes they're jumping spiders. I don't remember seeing anything on Jimmothy's Facebook page about her jumping status, but I'm really not trying to mess with that. But I know now that she must die, and it's her or us. So I start Googling how to kill a pregnant spider, and at first, Google shows me cheap housing in other states, and I'm like, no Google, I'm serious. So Google pulls up some Yahoo Answer pages that says, don't say I didn't warn you. I'm skimming through Yahoo Answers, and all I keep seeing is rule of statistics, lay tons of eggs, never get rid of them. And I realize this is it. This is the rest of my life. I'm going to die because I'm weak and I showed a bit of mercy to the spider. My only wish is that my dogs are able to make it out alive before they get crushed under the legs of trillions of possible jumping Jimmothys. And maybe they'll look back on me fondly as they run off and they see me guns a-blazing, stabbing spiders Rambo style. And they can remember me as they tell stories of my death and how others can learn from my mistake. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed those stories. If you did, please give it a fat thumbs up. And if you have any stories you'd like to share, you can send them to my Facebook, or you can send it to my email, which is listed down below in the description, or you can put them on my Reddit page, listed down below. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, have a very nice day, or night, or evening, or whatever. Just have it, and have it nice.